My phone kept buzzing. I turned it face down and went to make dinner. Sunday morning came with a voicemail from Susan in HR. Her voice had lost that practiced sympathy tone and landed somewhere between panic and barely suppressed rage. Naomi, we need you to call us back immediately. We're experiencing technical difficulties, and we believe they may be related to proprietary systems you developed. Please contact Derek Morrison or our legal team as soon as possible. This is extremely urgent. I deleted it. The next voicemail was from the CEO, Richard something. I'd met him twice in 15 years, and his voice was pure executive gravel. Miss Chen, this is Richard Pettinger. I'm told you're not responding to our communications. I want to be very clear that we're prepared to pursue all legal remedies if this situation is the result of sabotage or malicious interference. However, I'm also authorized to discuss terms for immediate consultation services if you're willing to resolve this cooperatively. Please call my direct line. Sabotage. Malicious interference. I played that voicemail 3 times, savoring each accusation. They still didn't get it. They thought I'd broken something, planted a logic bomb, hacked their systems in some dramatic revenge plot. They didn't understand that I hadn't touched anything. I'd just stopped providing something they'd never actually owned. My lawyer called at noon. Naomi, I've received multiple inquiries from Apex Solutions Legal Department. They're claiming breach of contract and threatening litigation. Before you say anything, I need to ask, did you tamper with their systems after your termination? No, I said calmly. I haven't accessed their servers, modified any code, or interfered with their operations in any way. Then why is their entire platform down? Because, I said, the license expired. Silence on the other end. Then, walk me through that. I explained. The original development timeline, the employment contract with the embedded licensing clause, the fact that my proprietary code had never been transferred to them, only licensed for use contingent on my active employment. And you documented all of this. Every line of code, every contractual clause, every email discussing the platform's development. It's all time-stamped and backed up. Another pause. This is either brilliant or career suicide. Possibly both. I've already had the career funeral. They gave me a severance check as a parting gift. He laughed. Actually laughed. Okay, don't respond to any of their communications. Forward everything to me. If they want to negotiate, they go through my office. And Naomi? Yeah? Make 'em sweat. Monday morning, the news broke. Not publicly. Companies like Apex Solutions are very good at keeping disasters quiet. But through the industry grapevine that connects everyone who's ever worked in enterprise software. Rachel texted me. They brought in an outside consulting firm, 6 people working around the clock trying to figure out why everything's broken. Kira's basically having a breakdown. Derek looks like he hasn't slept in 3 days. This is insane. Another message. This one from Marcus, a guy I'd collaborated on a conference panel 2 years ago. Heard through the grapevine that Apex is dead in the water. Their clients are screaming. What the hell happened? I didn't respond to anyone. Just watched the reports filter in through back channels, like listening to radio chatter from a distant battlefield. By Tuesday, the consulting firm had apparently given up. They'd reverse engineered enough to understand the scope of the problem, that core proprietary modules were missing, but not enough to actually rebuild them. That would take months, maybe years. And every day of downtime was costing Apex millions in lost transactions, SLA penalties, and customer defections. That's when my lawyer got the call. They want to negotiate, he said. And by negotiate, I mean they're desperate. How do you want to play this? I had been thinking about that question for 4 days, turning it over in my mind like a Rubik's Cube, looking at it from every angle. Set up a meeting, I said. Thursday afternoon, conference room at your office, not theirs. And I want Richard Pettinger in the room along with their chief counsel and whoever's handling their technical operations now. What are you asking for? I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. I'll know when I get there. Thursday, 2 p.m. The conference room at my lawyer's office was modern minimalist. Glass table, leather chairs, a view of the city skyline that probably cost an extra $1,000 a month in rent. The kind of room designed to make you feel either powerful or intimidated, depending on which side of the table you were sitting on. I got there early, claimed the seat facing the door. They arrived at 2:03 p.m. Richard Pettinger, still looking like a CEO from Central Casting with his silver hair and custom suit. Next to him, a woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Ellen Vasquez, Chief Legal Officer, and trailing behind, looking haggard and barely holding it together, was Derek Morrison. No Kira. Interesting. Miss Chen, this is Richard Pettinger. I'm told you're not responding to our communications. I want to be very clear that we're prepared to pursue all legal remedies if this situation is the result of sabotage or malicious interference. However, I'm also authorized to discuss terms for immediate consultation services if you're willing to resolve this cooperatively. Please call my direct line. Ellen opened a leather portfolio and slid a document across the table. We've prepared a proposal for consultation services. It's quite generous. Double your previous salary, prorated for emergency response work, with a bonus structure for full platform restoration. I glanced at the numbers. They were desperate. The hourly rate alone was obscene. You're offering me money to fix your system? I said. We're offering you money to honor your original contract, Richard corrected. You built that platform while employed by Apex. That makes it our intellectual property. Does it? I looked at my lawyer. He smiled, the kind of smile sharks give right before feeding time, and pulled out his own document. Section 7, subsection D, clause 12 of Miss Chen's employment contract. She retained ownership of all proprietary technology developed prior to her employment. The platform's core architecture was built on her own time, with her own resources, and subsequently licensed to Apex under terms that explicitly terminated upon the end of her active employment. Ellen's face went very still. We'll need to review. I've taken the liberty of providing copies of the original contract, time-stamped development logs from Ms. Chen's private repository, and registration documents for the LLC through which she licensed the technology. Everything is documented and legally sound. Richard turned to Ellen. Is this true? She was speed reading through the contract copy, her finger tracing down the page. When she reached section 7, her face went pale. We'll need to consult with outside counsel, but on preliminary review, this clause does appear to be enforceable, my lawyer finished, which means you've been operating a billion-dollar business on licensed technology that you no longer have permission to use. Every transaction you've processed since Saturday at 5:12 p.m. has been, legally speaking, unauthorized. The room went quiet. Outside the window, I could hear the faint sound of traffic, people going about their normal lives in a world that hadn't imploded over a missed clause in a 15-year-old contract. What do you want? Richard finally asked. This was it, the moment I'd been building toward since that first email about organizational evolution. I could ask for money, a massive settlement that would set me up for life. Or I could demand my job back with terms that would make me bulletproof. Or I could twist the knife even deeper and license the technology to their competitors. All of those options floated through my mind like ships passing in the fog. I want Kira transferred out of my old role and into a real engineering position, with mentorship from people who actually know what they're doing. She's got potential, and you're wasting it by using her as a cheap replacement. Richard blinked. That's your condition? That's my first condition. Second, I want Derek Morrison removed from any technical leadership position. He's a manager who doesn't understand the technology he's managing, and that's how you ended up in this mess. Derek opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Richard, who didn't look back. Third, I continued, I want a formal, written acknowledgement that the platform was built on my proprietary technology and licensed to Apex. Not sold. Licensed. That distinction matters. And in return, Ellen asked carefully, in return, I'll offer a new licensing agreement. 5-year term, renewable, market rate fees for use of the proprietary modules, and if you ever try to replace me again or find some cheap graduate to train up as a backup plan, the license terminates immediately. No grace period, no negotiation. Richard leaned back in his chair. You're holding us hostage. No, I'm establishing the actual value of the work I do. You tried to extract 15 years of expertise at a discount by replacing me with someone cheaper. Now you're learning what that expertise was actually worth. The silence stretched out. We'll need to review this with our board and outside counsel, Ellen finally said. You have until Monday. After that, I start taking meetings with your competitors. I'm sure they'd love to hear about a proven platform that suddenly became available for licensing. I stood up. My lawyer handed Richard a USB drive. That contains the full proposal terms along with supporting documentation. Ms. Chen will expect a response by Monday at noon. We walked out. In the elevator, my lawyer turned to me. You realize you could have asked for 10 times what you're asking for. I know. So why didn't you? The elevator doors opened. I stepped out into the lobby, into the flow of people moving through their ordinary Thursday afternoon. Because I don't want their money. I want them to understand what they tried to throw away, and I want to make sure they never forget it. Monday came. At 11:47 a.m., my lawyer called. They accepted. All terms. Kira is being transferred to the data engineering team under senior mentorship. Derek is being moved to a non-technical role, VP of Strategic Partnerships, whatever that means. And you've got your licensing agreement. What about the formal acknowledgement? Signed by Richard Pettinger himself. It'll be posted internally and included in their next quarterly report to shareholders. They're also issuing a public statement about renewing key technology partnerships without naming you specifically, but anyone who knows anything will read between the lines. I sat down on my couch, suddenly feeling the weight of the last 10 days. When do they want me to start restoration work? Immediately, if possible. They're losing about $4 million a day in penalties and lost business. Tell them I'll begin Wednesday. And I'll need full admin access restored, a dedicated workspace, and a written apology from Susan in HR. A written apology? She called it a strategic restructuring. I wanted on record that it was a mistake. He laughed. I'll add it to the list. Wednesday morning, I walked back into the Apex Solutions building. The receptionist did a double take when she saw me. Miss Chen, welcome back. I nodded and headed to the elevator. Up to the 3rd floor where engineering lived. The open plan workspace was quieter than usual, people hunched over keyboards with the desperate intensity of a team in crisis mode. Rachel saw me first. Holy shit, you're back. Temporarily, I said. Just here to fix what's broken. Everything is broken. I know. She hugged me. Quick and fierce. Whatever you did, however you pulled this off, you're my hero. I patted her back. Just basic contract law. Nothing fancy. They'd set up a workspace for me in one of the glass-walled offices usually reserved for senior VPs. Private, quiet, with a door I could close. My access credentials had been restored with a priority level I'd never had before. Root on everything, no restrictions, just a clean slate and a platform to rebuild. I pulled up my private repository, started the restoration process. It would take time, hours, maybe days, to properly redeploy and test everything. But I knew this code like I knew my own heartbeat. Around noon, there was a knock on the door. Kira stood there, holding 2 coffees. "Hi, I brought you coffee. I didn't know how you take it, so I got it black. I hope that's okay." I gestured to the chair across from me. Black is perfect. She sat down carefully, like she was worried the furniture might bite her. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. They didn't tell me I was supposed to replace you. I thought I was just learning, being mentored. And then everything crashed and they told me it was my responsibility to fix it and I couldn't and—" "Kira," I said gently, "none of this is your fault. But you were set up to fail. They tried to do something impossible, transfer 15 years of institutional knowledge in 3 weeks, and when it didn't work, they blamed you instead of admitting they made a stupid decision." She was crying now, quiet tears that she kept trying to wipe away. "I heard you got them to move me to a different team. I don't understand why you'd do that after they used me to replace you." I took a sip of the coffee. It was good. "Because you're not the enemy. They are. And you've got potential. Real potential. You just need people who will actually teach you instead of using you as a cheap substitute." She nodded, still crying. "Now," I said, pulling up a second monitor. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to fix the platform. It'll take me about 3 days if everything goes smoothly. During that time, if you want, you can sit in here and watch, ask questions, learn how this stuff actually works. Not the sanitized version, the real thing. And when I'm done, you're going to join the data engineering team where they'll teach you proper architecture design." "Really?" "Really. But there's one condition." She straightened up, wiping her eyes. "What?" "Never let anyone convince you that you're replaceable. And never let a company take credit for work that belongs to you. Document everything, own your value, and if they ever try to push you out, make sure you're holding the keys to something they can't function without." She smiled through the tears. "Is that what you did?" "That's exactly what I did." 3 days later, on Saturday morning at 6:40.